Hey guys, Bryce here from Flex Cortex. All content on the Flex Cortex podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not a substitution for medical advice from a qualified health professional. Thank you and enjoy the podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to Flex Cortex. Today we're going to be talking about fulfillment. We're going to be talking with our lovely guest, Stephen. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen. It's great to have you.
Happy to be here, gentlemen.
So we're going to be talking about taking initiative and the necessary steps to live the life you basically want to live. That's all part of the fulfillment journey. So thank you so much for joining us. We know you have a very special story regarding that. Stephen is the owner of Dahl Body Mind and is located out of Red Deer. First of all, thank you so much for coming on and making time for us, Stephen.
We're stoked.
Yeah, of course.
So,
I was excited.
So just to start us off, how long have you been in fitness?
Honestly, probably since I first discovered or first realized that I was skinnier than everyone else around me. That was probably somewhere around 10, 12 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely one way to get into fitness is just, kind of going from that superficial level of comparing yourself to others, especially your peers at a young age, and being like, hey, is there something I can do about this to change it? And then going about and doing that and then actually developing into a place where you get into fitness. It's maybe not the ideal way to get into it, but it's still good. That was the end result.
Yeah, I mean,
It starts off with that vanity reason, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And my perspective is always that it doesn't really matter what brings you into it, because there's so much opportunity for other types of growth that aren't so vain, right? So even if you're starting just because you hate the way you look, as you kind of realize that you can take a little bit more control of yourself and your life, some of the self-growth that's less superficial kind of sneaks in under the rug. And that's why I think it provides so much opportunity for that, is that it's unassuming, right?
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Stephen and I were speaking before about, we had a good talk about fulfillment and about careers and about everything like that on our drive to Calgary. And this podcast is kind of more or less inspired by that one. So we're really excited to jump into this one and tell all of our viewers and listeners about your history and kind of where you're wanting to go as far as fitness and all that stuff, all the connections you want to make too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't see my journey as anything particularly special, but I definitely am doing it to kind of inspire others who are on a similar journey as me, and maybe feel a little bit stuck, feel a little bit, again, unfulfilled. I mean, we're all on the same journey, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I think a lot of people who get into the fitness space, even at a lot of people will get into it at just the personal level and just do it to get in shape or stay active. And then a few people will actually go on to try and make it into a career or talk about it. It's something that all three of us are doing now, which is, I think, it takes a unique individual to do it. But I think the paths that get there, even though we share so many similarities, all of our paths there are going to be so diverse. And that's what kind of makes it a beautiful thing, why it makes it so interesting to have guests on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, fitness itself looks so different, right? Like, it can be whatever you enjoy, right? Like, it can be as simple as just going for a nightly walk, right? Like, it doesn't have to be getting jacked and lifting weights. I know, so many people are so afraid that if they get into weights, they're gonna get jacked or they're gonna look so different. But I mean, I've been trying for 10 years now to look jacked, and I'm still struggling with it myself, right? So I mean, it's a beautiful thing in just the different motivations that can go into it, and just the different outputs of what it can look like and what you kind of enjoy most. And as I'm getting into coaching, I find that that's one of the biggest things when you're getting to know each client, is getting to know what fitness looks like to them and how they're going to enjoy it most, right?
Mm. Yeah, I think like we discussed last time, fitness definitely positively impacts every other aspect of your life, right? It starts off with just lifting weights, but that routine and can definitely expand, and it can actually positively affect other aspects as well. So it's huge.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, we'll jump into the next question here. How long have you been working in the oil field?
I think I got into it about 6 years ago. It was just a happen chance. My first job was actually delivering, well, not my first job, the job prior to it, sorry, was delivering parcels for a similar company to USPS or whatever like that. And I remember one of the driving factors to getting into that was that one of my friends at the time had told me I was too thin to do a heavy lifting job like that. And it was just kind of a big screw you. So I got into that, and I had the most heavy lifting route out of everybody on the job. And I went with that for a couple of years, and then ultimately it just led into the oil field. And I've been there ever since. I kind of worked my way into a bit of a management position. I'm currently a logistics manager. So I get a lot of sedentary time to just think about other things. And I figured it was a perfect opportunity to kind of springboard off of that and use any extra ass time I had at my job to kind of work on a side gig, right?
Yeah, it's really cool that you know a lot of jobs might not give you the opportunity to, and a lot of oil field jobs won't either. So it's really kind of serendipity where you're kind of falling into this from your parcel job, where again that's a job where you don't have much time to yourself to reflect and be like, okay, maybe I should start a side gig or something like that, because you're driving and lifting packages all day. Um, so it's really cool that it might not have been a direct path, but it's definitely a path that's kind of taking you around a winding road to, where you're kind of combining two loves and also getting a nice fu off to your buddy.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. I mean, and I find it interesting with my current position because, like, by all means, I'm comfortable and I have no real reason to go elsewhere, right? I have a salaried position, everything's taken care of that I could need, right? Like I could sit in this position realistically for the rest of my life. But fitness has kind of just always had such a big place in my heart. And the more I kind of got into it and the more I studied it, on the side, the more I realized that I want it to be a bigger part of my life, right? Like I don't want to just sit and be a logistics manager in the oil field for the rest of my life. So, I mean, we'll see where it takes me, but right now I'm definitely satisfied that I'm finally taking steps to implementing it more in my life.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That actually answers my next question really well. So I'll just kind of add on to that with like, what kind of speed are you hoping to go at for your transition? Are you hoping to, have X amount of saved up? Are you hoping to have X amount of clients before you kind of make the jump?
That's something I've wrestled with a lot back and forth. You kind of get both perspectives, right? You get the people who have started up successful businesses and they kind of preach that you're never going to be able to plan out how things go, that you kind of just have to leap into it and adapt as necessary. And that's definitely some of the most successful people I've seen have followed something similar. But at the end of the day, I'm also kind of a planner. So when I first jumped into this, I was telling myself that I have to kind of do it as quickly as possible. I need to attain as many clients. I need to, I was setting out a schedule for myself. and it was overwhelming, and I found it kind of leached a lot of the joy out of it for me. So
Yeah.
kind of in recent months, I've taken some steps back and just reanalyzed and tried to kind of stoke the love for it again. So right now I'm just I'm taking it at my own pace, right? I have the luxury where I don't have to do this for a living. I can just do it as I see fit, and again, just do it purely for the enjoyment of it. And I find that reflects in kind of some of the quality of service my clients get as well.
Fair. Yeah, I actually think for that it's just super important to like know, because a lot of people run into that when they turn a passion into a job, is that they start to find that the joy for that passion is starting to kind of get leached. And my own theory, not backed up by any research here, is that, it's not that turning your passion into your job necessarily makes you, start to hate your passion or start to lose the joy in it. It's if you have to, use that passion to meet X amount of, X financial goals, because that's what you need to be comfortable for your current budget. When you put that expectation on the hobby, or even job that you're turning into, like your passion you're turning into a job, you're gonna just run into bad times, because it's not realistic for a personal trainer to be making what a logistics manager is making in the oil field, uh, possibly ever, depending on the clientele, right? So it's I think that's generally why, when you take something that you really love and try and basically monetize it too much, that's where you start running into these problems.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, it in that fact, in that sense, it makes it harder on me coming from, a higher wage. Whereas if I was working at McDonald's and trying to start this up, I'd be a little bit more satisfied with whatever amount of success I see. But ultimately, I'm kind of wrestling with, whenever or if I take the leap to just coaching full time, I have to realistically kind of adjust my expectations for standard of living, right? Um, and so, I mean, it does speak to how much I enjoy this, just the fact that I'm considering that. But it's again part of what's wrestling in my mind with the timeline of, how I want this to look in 5, 10 years or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's really cool though that because again, and I'll reinforce that you don't have to make that uh, jump. There's no one with a gun at you saying you have to. It'd just be your own self-imposed limits. So if the logistics position is there and able to blossom your career in personal training, still, I think use the hell out of it. When it starts limiting it and you're feeling, you know, impacted by that limitation, I think that's when you have to kind of start trying to break through to, and really make those hard decisions about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, agreed.
End of the day, this is definitely not an industry that you're going to be making a ton of money in. So I think even Shallow's talked about it, right? Like if you're in this industry for money, you're definitely in it for the wrong reason. So you got to be in it because you love it. You have to be in it because you're passionate about it. And I mean, obviously you're passionate about it. Um, just a matter of when you feel like you're ready. Because I mean, obviously the financial situation will change, but that's just one of the things you're going to have to kind of deal with as it comes, right?
Yeah. No, and I completely agree. And that's one thing that I love about this industry in particular, and about all the fellow coaches that I meet here, is that, the people who aren't passionate and are just here to make a quick buck, they don't last. They quickly realize that this isn't the place to do that, right? So typically all the people around you are just as passionate as yourself, if not more. And, they just want to learn alongside you. They just want to help, because everybody wins in those cases, right? And I don't find you see
Mm-hmm.
that in a ton of industries these days.
No, no, it definitely has its unique way of like having a high turnover rate without even like really wanting to. Like you said, that somebody will get in it and then they'll think you can make a killing doing it. Then they'll realize that you have to like build your clientele up, or whether you're in person or online, right? And that takes time. Like to get it actually fully established into personal training, I'd say you probably take 6 months or a year, right? Depends how aggressively you're doing it. So I think people just want that instant gratification, and they just want that money now, and they want that money then. They don't want to wait for like to actually build it gradually and have that time. But then you also get more experience over that time too, right?
Yeah, no, it's true, and I mean that's a quick path to not feeling fulfilled in really anything, right? When you're pursuing just the end result rather than finding enjoyment in the journey.
100%. Right. We'll do the next one. So, what was the major reason for you that you wanted to transition to PT? That you wanted to switch from your oil field stuff?
I mean, so when I first got into fitness, it became an obsession, something I'd never really felt to this extent before. You know, it was the type of thing that kept me up at night because I was just so excited. I was so driven to learn all I could and, you know, transform my body and my mind. And I just saw so much benefit in every aspect of my life, really, whether it be, you know, self-confidence or patience or, you know, the ability to, you know, endure discomfort or whatever. Um, and so I finally kind of, as that developed, it naturally reached into me trying to help out friends and family. Um, and one particular standout in that is my girlfriend, who some of you may know that she was in a serious horsing accident and lost her finger, one of her fingers, her ring finger, and shattered her femur to the point that doctors said she'd never walk again. Um, and when I first met her, she had never really touched fitness. Um, and I slowly kind of introduced it to the point where now she has no problems. She used to experience pain and seizing of her legs all the time. Um, Now she'll go on hikes for, you know, all day, 8 hours uphill and have no problem. So, you know, after I was able to kind of transform some of the people close to me, um, I just still kind of wanted more. I was still craving to create more of a fitness aspect in my life. Um, and that's kind of ultimately what led me to the Prescript courses. Um, and it was intoxicating once I was around all these other coaches, like I say, who were equally inspired and passionate about it as myself, if not more so. Um, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. It was almost inevitable once I joined in that.
Yeah, yeah. The story of your girlfriend's very inspiring. That definitely, obviously, that was life changing for you, right? Life changing for her. So it makes sense as to why that kind of sparked a passion for you to get into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
I think you know, for that it's just such a hard thing for, you know, both the person and the family going through. It's, you know, months and years of rehab to get to a point where, you know, uh, it, you know, femur breaking is basically like your hip breaking. It's, you know, taking away that fundamental part of, you know, who you are, walking movement. So I definitely understand some of the challenges that would have come with, and you know, I just want to give kudos to both your girlfriend and you for working through that and going through such a tough process of rehab, because that rehab is brutal, and like anyone who sugarcoats that is lying to people, because that is hard ass work, like unbelievable. So good work on you for helping her through that, and good work on her for overcoming that challenge.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, she's every day an inspiration to me. You know, deadlifting more than some of the guys in the gym these days. Um, you know, just seeing that someone can go through something like that and not be at all held back on the other side of it, right? Like she was issued essentially you know, some would say it's a death sentence, being told that you'll never walk again, because you take that to heart, right? You uh, you hold on to that idea that a doctor told me this, therefore it's true. And now you start being a little bit you vary your decisions in day-to-day life, right? You may just sit around a little bit more. You turn down opportunities. You have more of an I can't mentality. Whereas once you're kind of instilled with the self-confidence that fitness can give you, you quickly transform that into I can. And she's seen it reach into other areas of her life as well, not just movement.
Yeah. Well, movement would have been what started it for sure, right? Just obviously the fact that she was told she'd never be able to walk, and then she was able to, right? And like you said, she's active in the gym right now. She's able to go on hikes, like you mentioned, and like that's it's a huge thing. It's a huge transition. So it obviously makes sense as to why you're passionate about it now. And I mean, you got engaged with a great community, right? Like, um, I'm thankful every day for meeting a lot of the Prescript guys, and like I would definitely wouldn't have met you, and we wouldn't have met up with Nick if it weren't for that, right? So, um, I'm thankful to be part of a community that pushes you to grow, pushes you to challenge yourself, and is just encouraging, but also needs to tell you when when you need to hear something. They're not afraid to tell you like how it is too. They're not afraid to like let you know what's up. So it's good. It's a good crew.
Yeah,
Very thankful.
agreed. Yeah, and we all have such a similar growth mentality. I loved meeting up with you guys, and I mean Tanner as well. Like, we're meeting people even outside of the Prescript group now, just by association, and I love it.
Okay. So, uh, Stephen, if you could narrow it down to, like, you've touched upon it quite a bit already in just talking about it, especially with just like the major reason for going into personal training. But like, if you could boil it down to an essential core reason that you feel more fulfilled doing personal training than, say, working in the oil field or picking up packages, like what would that essence be, just so that any listeners at home could take that and apply it to their own life that doesn't have to do with fitness or whatever, just to find their own passion.
Yeah, I mean, when you see jobs like delivering parcels or working in the oil field, I think some people can turn it into something that they enjoy doing and is a passion. But for the most part, most people don't enter those kind of jobs for any other reason than just to pay their bills, right? And I think ultimately that just goes back to you're focused on the end result rather than the journey of it, right? And when you go into something that you just are doing it out of the pure love of doing it, regardless of what that looks like, you're going to, I think, automatically ascertain a lot more fulfillment out of it, just because it has a deeper meaning to you, right? Like it's something that gets you out of bed in the morning, sorry. Because you just want to do it. It's not about the end result. Like I said, like it's not about how much money I'm making out of fitness. The very fact that I'm debating giving up money for it just to do it, you know, and that's not to say that like I feel like that every single day. There's not some grandiose purpose for it. There's still going to be days where you just dislike it, where you are stressed out by it. But ultimately, if your root reason is just to be doing it because you want to do it, I think you're on the right path.
Really well said.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it is just don't be afraid to try something new, right? Don't be afraid to pursue something that you're passionate about, because I think a lot of people live in like their comfort zone, and they kind of live in that, and it causes a sense of complacency, and then you're just doing something because it meets and ends, right? Like you're making money, you're paying your bills, you're affording vacations, you're affording all that stuff. But when it comes down to the end of the day, though, if you're not fulfilled and if you're not happy with what you're doing, and if you're not making an impact, then that's the biggest thing. So props to you, man. Again, like whenever you're ready to take the leap, you got my support. So just I hope you know that.
No, I definitely appreciate that, man. And that's one of the things, again, like if this would have been anything else, I don't think I would have had the courage to leap into it. but the fact that fitness has kind of helped me, like the very nature of working out every day, like nobody does it because it's comfortable, right? Like the very essence of working out is we're living in discomfort, right? And I don't think without getting used to living in that discomfort day in and day out of the gym, I would have had the courage to live so far out of my comfort zone and take a leap like this.
Yeah, you have to, in a sense, you kind of have to thrive off of that feeling, right? You have to also try to pursue that feeling of discomfort, or that feeling of that anxiety feeling, in the sense of it being beneficial to your self-improvement or your self-development. I mean, that's what people should strive to do, and they should always be trying to push for that next thing that makes them feel uncomfortable, right? Just because you never really grow living in your comfort zone. So always strive to do something that's going to take you out of there, and that's it, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Hey,
No,
Bryce,
agreed. I
you
mean,
have to buy me a on-air sign. You have to
Oh,
buy me
what?
an on-air sign because my mom just knocked on the door. She brings me in an ice cream sundae. I'm like, no. But also, bless her because she brought me an ice cream sundae on a
Just
plus 35 day.
throw
So sorry,
throw the
guys.
camera
Yeah.
off.
Sorry for the
No, I don't think
interruption
you can
there.
be mad.
Go ahead, Steve. Yeah, I
No,
can't. I really can't.
Listen, now I just got ice cream on the brain and I don't know what I was talking about.
That's fair. I I will
Yeah.
say that I can speak from experience here because ultimately I think I've alluded to it. I've talked to a lot of my close friends about it. Like there are areas about nursing that I'm very passionate about, women's health specifically, and like labor and delivery. Would love to. I'd feel fulfilled waking up every morning doing that. Other places in nursing, not so much. Going to nursing school, not so much. Um, so this relates back to that discomfort, and that's where I was uncomfortable a lot during nursing school, but the I was still in my circle of comfort. I wasn't really expanding that zone because I just thought that was the path I had to go down now that I had committed to it, and I was just sticking through it. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely I didn't do it because I was seeking discomfort. I did it because it was scary to go off that path and try something else. And I think that's what's also really important for a lot of listeners at home to realize too is that just because something's hard or you dislike it doesn't mean it's uncomfortable. You might just be on a path that's the easiest for you, the path of least resistance. That's not seeking discomfort. That is living in your little comfortable bubble, even if that means working at McDonald's and you hate it, or Superstore and you hate it, but it's comfortable, so you keep going back day in and day out. So you don't have to go and quit your job after listening to this podcast. But I do want you to take those gradual steps to try and, go from the set path that you're going down, especially if you're not happy, and just try and make one little change. And then one little change. And then hopefully that'll blossom into a beautiful tree. I did a little motion there on the stream and the video. So you get to see that. It was a little tree motion.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. No, that's it's very true, man. I think more people need to be willing to take that chance, right? Like, if you're for those of the people that know me, like I definitely have some history with working in other trades. So like I did work in electrical for a bit before I hopped into PT, and my parents wanted me to actually stay in electrical because they thought it would be something secured income wise, something where I'd be able to probably get a good pension, probably be union too, depending on where you are. But it wasn't my passion, right? I wasn't happy doing it. I couldn't see myself doing it, so um, I I just quit, and I pursued this, and they weren't happy. Like they weren't happy at all because I just quit. Um, but you also can't. The whole point though is you can't be living someone else's life, right? Just because somebody wants you to do something doesn't mean you should be doing it. Might be what they want for you, but it's not what you want for yourself. So make sure that you're doing things every day to get you closer to your goal, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the
And I
point.
think when people are living within their comfort zone, that circle of comfort slowly gets smaller and smaller, right? It doesn't stay the same, right? And there's going to reach a point, and we see this with a lot of people who are 60 years old and won't even step outside, right? Like that's the end of that path, right? If you're not trying to practice stepping outside of that comfort zone, it just leads to not living at all, right? And I think that's something to be more scared of than living outside of your comfort zone.
I agree completely. It's just one of those things, and it's not seeking discomfort, or the right thing isn't doing what's hard necessarily in terms of like going to a job you hate. Not to reiterate and beat the point over the head, but it's sometimes harder to pave your own path, to go away from expectations of everyone. And I think that's kind of what we're all touching upon here. It's just be your own trailblazer, even if that doesn't mean you have to be the next business maverick or all-star PT. Just do something for yourself that makes you happy, and that hopefully helps others or benefits the world overall.
Yeah, 100%, man. Good point. I think the goal is just to make an impact, right? Just try to make a difference. And if for Stephen, that's working with some people, and if he's hoping to help people the same way he was able to help his girlfriend, then that's awesome, right? That's how it starts. Just try to get in there, get some experience, and just help people out. That's what we're all here. That's what we're all here for.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be big steps, right? Like the changes multiply; they don't just add up. We have always heard that, I'm sure. Every little choice that you make that's, like you say, a little outside of your comfort zone, it just completely changes the trajectory of where you're going to be in a few years, right? Like it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be something that, is changing the world. It can be as simple as just saying hello to your neighbor more often, right? Like those things have far-reaching effects.
And to not sound too cliche, but to kind of go off of the topic today, go more based off of fulfillment versus instant gratification. So make choices thinking about your future self. It can be hard because like when you're living in the moment, you're wanting to make choices that positively impact you now. But think more about choices that are going to impact you like 5 years from now versus thinking about right now and things that are going to give you that instant pleasure gratification, like ice cream.
But that's not to say you can't have ice cream. If someone drops it at your door, interrupt the podcast and eat the ice cream.
It kind of sounds like a sign, if there were a sign, right? If that's the neon sign you're looking for.
Yeah, it's like live outside of your comfort zone, but make time for the ice cream. That'll be the slogan for this episode.
I actually love that.
Thanks for coming to the TED Talk.
You know what? We're good. All right, let's wrap it up.
Love it.
We have Thanks, 5 more questions, but let's wrap it up, baby.
I do want to make a little topic here, and I do want to make a distinction, is that when it comes to discomfort, we're more talking about mental discomfort, but we're also talking about safe physical discomfort. There are obviously limitations, and if there's a certain movement you're doing in the gym and you feel uncomfortable doing it, there's a chance you shouldn't do it. So don't just thrive off of that sensation all the time. Use your instinct. Yeah. I don't think I should have to say this, but that's
not good discomfort. Okay, stop it. Stop. You're gonna break your back.
That's an important disclaimer, right? Like some people, that's their initial why for going into the gym. And I'd say that's probably one of the few exceptions where I say that's probably not a good reason to start, is that you just want to punish yourself, right? Like there still is bad discomfort.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Some people get off on that. That's their thing.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's different bars you can go to where the waitresses or waiters will whip you. So do that instead. A great bar in Lviv that did that. So
isn't there that one bar in Vegas?
Masochism.
Yes, that's
right. There's one like that too, where all the servers will basically just talk shit about you. Yeah.
Really? Really?
Uh,
What's that?
I forgot what it's called now. It's really, really popular and famous restaurant though. Um, that I don't remember the name of.
I've heard it. Yeah, they make like paper hats and write some derogatory name for each person and make you wear it the whole meal or something like that. Isn't that? Are we thinking about the same one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, we're thinking of the same one. I
I
think I
love it.
went there when I was like
I mean,
12,
speak.
and they're very nice to kids. Yeah,
Sounds age appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of fulfillment, I wonder how somebody with a job like that would feel at the end of the day. That's always been a curious thought for me.
you know what? I think if they've been in customer service for a while or retail, they probably love it. They probably like, oh, thank God, I finally get my revenge. And they can't get mad at me because it's my job.
Yeah.
You're the one in control of who speaks to the manager.
True.
Carrying the hat. Well, our next question here was, what was the hardest thing about taking the jump? But we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier about um, more or less like your financial situation and the fact that it's salary, right? So we kind of talked about that. But would you see that there's any, to get really deep here, are there any other reasonings as to why you're kind of wanting to maybe push off doing PT full time?
Yeah, I mean, there's still definitely a deep-rooted fear of failure, right? I am a guy that prior to getting into the gym would kind of always live in my comfort zone. Um, and so that's one of the things I've learned most from it, but I still have a lot of that. Like I talk about, living outside of your comfort zone and how much growth can be there, but like it still is a big struggle for me. Don't get me wrong. Um, this is such a big passion of mine and it means so much to me. Um, and so if I was to fail or if I was to not be able to kind of offer the level of service that I'm hoping, et cetera, like I would take that as a huge hit. Right. So I'd say
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing that's kind of holding me back is just, I don't want to be shitty at it.
Mm-hmm. I think this kind of ties in nicely to what we talked about when we were. I can't remember if it was when we were with Nick or when we were just in your car. We talked about just limiting yourself to a certain amount of clients. So if you have a certain amount of clients, just limit yourself to those clients, and then that way you can service them really, really well, right? That way service won't drop off. The quality of the service stays high. Because if you try to take on too much, then that's when you're probably going to be finding that maybe quality of service might drop off, and then obviously that's not your intention with it, and it's obviously not your full-time thing, so you don't want to be adding more stress to your life, and I think that would maybe be a contributing factor to causing you to not want to do it. So you don't want to have more reason to not try it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I was, like I said, when I first started I was pushing into that territory, just trying to get as many clients as possible. And not only did I, like I say, feel that the level of service was going down to each client, but when I made mistakes, just because I was so focused on not drowning under everything, I didn't have as much of a chance to step back and learn from each interaction, right? Like when you mess up, it's a positive thing as long as you're still learning and growing from it, right? But if you don't give yourself that opportunity, then you're just going to keep messing up and making the same mistakes. And so, yeah, with this foundational phase of coaching, that's what I'm trying to give myself the opportunity to do.
That's fantastic.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I think you know what you need to do with it, and I just think it's a matter of just kind of getting over that initial fear, right? Because there is always that association. 100%. I was that way, and I'm still that way even sometimes. I'm like, is this the right career to be in, right? And then, but then I think down to my core, and I think down to what I believe in. I think down to what I'm passionate about and what I want to do, and the impact I want to have on the industry, and like then that recertifies why I'm actually here, and this is why what I do, right? It's for me, it's not really it's a question. It's not really a question for me. I don't know where else I would be if I wasn't here.
Really well said.
So, That's it.
Yeah.
You guys are popping off with
Oh, I love
banners
that.
today.
It's not bad.
Just trying to keep
I
up
think
with you fellas.
that actually kind of. Thank you. I'm doing the same. Bryce has got the words of wisdom today, and so do you. I think this does tie in really well to, um, you know, going beyond just fitness and going kind of just into the fact that a lot of the guests, including you, are high drive individuals. I think you have a unique position being a logistics manager to also answer this. But how do you decide how to prioritize things in your life, and what kind of gets done and what kind of gets pushed to the side, and how you decide that kind of?
I have no clue. No, it's a work in progress. I'm always trying to kind of achieve that balance, and it's never going to be 100%. It's a daily struggle, man. I'll always notice that one thing is suffering, and then I'll just kind of shift focus and try to focus a little bit more on that. And I mean, I'm getting a little closer the longer I do it to kind of achieving a bit more of a balance that makes sense for me. But I don't think it's ever going to be, 100%. You're always going to have those struggles where something's suffering, right? Like, and that's just the nature of taking on more in your life, right? Like, you have to kind of just sit back and question what means the most to me and what's going to give the most payoff, and find where you can compromise, right?
Yeah.
100%. I think end of the day, it just ties back to what we said before. You don't want to take on too much than you can handle, right? Because if you take on way too much workload, then it's going to start affecting your personal life and the life that you have with your friends and your family and your girlfriend and stuff. So you want to make sure that you have that balance, because the work life balance is hard. It's a tough thing, especially when you're trying to build a business. And for you, obviously working full time, like, you still have that obligation too, right?
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, you want to avoid hitting that, because it can hit that tipping point where now everything suffers because you're trying to do one thing more and it takes away from everything, right? You don't want that either. But um, again, it's just a constant struggle.
It is, man. That's the got to find that balance. And that's part of life, right? All the challenges that
Yeah.
get thrown at you.
That's like a million billion dollar business, with all the basically the self help industry. It's like really boiling down to how do you prioritize your time and how do you take control of your life. And there is some good advice out there. There's really bad advice too, but there's really good advice. And but the challenge is implementing it. And one person might have X to say about this, and that would actually work in practice. But another might say the opposite, and somehow that works too. It's kind of a mystery of what works for one person versus another for setting those priorities and actually, getting shit done at the end of the day.
Yeah, time management's a big thing, right? If you have really bad time management, then start there.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that we have a lot of these people that we look up to as successes, like Elon Musk, like a lot of billionaires, Jeff Bezos, so sort of thing. And we look at them and we're like, oh, these people must be like hyper productive, and they are in their own way. They have assistants, but you also got to ask yourselves, what's their work life balance looking like? Not too many people know, because we're not there. We don't know their lives, but are they getting as much family time as they should be? Are they happy with how much time they can give to their spouse or significant other? With all the divorces in the billionaire club, good question. But yeah, it's one of those things where just be careful. No, your priorities are going to be your own at the end of the day. If your priority is making $1 billion business, great. If your priority is to build fulfilling relationships with those around you, great. And if it's to raid World of Warcraft dungeons until you're 45 and doing whatever, Power to you.
Great.
I guess so.
Power to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a misconception, though, that like you bring up these billionaires and these phenoms, these people who excel so far in a single avenue. And a lot of people talk about when they meet these people, they're very dysfunctional in almost all other areas of their life, right? Like you meet somebody who's the best in the world at basketball, but they don't know how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. It's like, well, okay, like, yeah, they've devoted their life to this single avenue, but like if it's at the cost of almost every other aspect in their life, is it worth it, right? Maybe for them because they're this, genetic freak who just has all the perfect makings to be the best in the world. By all means, pursue it if that's the case. But, for the average person, you're not Kobe Bryant, right? You're not going to be the best in the world at something. You still need to look after the other things in your life.
Yeah, really well said, actually.
Very well said.
There's actually a book. I haven't read it yet, but it kind of goes along into that. And basically, it's just like I believe it's called Range, and it's basically the subtitle is why generalists rule or will succeed, something along those lines. And it kind of goes into that, where you're probably not going to be the best podcaster, the best basketball player, the best billionaire or best businessman. But, if you can get to a certain level of success in a lot of those areas, you're going to find greater success in life overall. You're going to have a much more balanced life. You're still going to have a relatively happy life financially because, you might not be a billionaire, but you might be able to get yourself to $1 million, and then you're living pretty okay too if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like you mentioned before too, just about your priorities, right? And if you're willing to put in the time, like obviously for like Elon Musk or Bezos, like they had to work super hard, but now they're at the point now where like they're a big part of the company, but I doubt they're actually there that much.
Jeff Bezos just stepped down.
I doubt they're ever there.
Yeah,
I doubt they're ever there, right? So I mean, like they worked really hard to get to the point that they're at. Obviously, like they had to sacrifice a lot of like family time and a lot of other things to get to where they are, but now they can enjoy the things that they weren't enjoying before now, but just with like billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, like the Steve Jobs of the world, right? Like he wears the same thing every day. He does the same routine every day because he only wants to make, maybe 3 decisions per day, right? Like he's prioritizing so much to the extent that he's just focusing on those 3 things. And when you look at it from that perspective, right, like he's accomplishing a lot less than we are. He's built more than we have, and he has a team assembled around him that complements everything else that he's not doing, right? And I think that's one of the most brilliant factors of a good leader is knowing how to assemble a team around you that complements all of your weaknesses and being in touch enough with yourself to know what those weaknesses are.
100%. Because we all have them. We all have to work through them and work around them. So building, taking a strength-based approach to your team building and even who you give leadership to for certain things is super important because, you might be a big ideas guy, but not want to get bogged down in the details. That might not be your strong suit. So, getting someone to actually come on your team and figure out those small details and how to break it down, fantastic. That's going to make for a better, more efficient team compared to, trying to be it all. Like Bryce and I doing the logos for Flux Cortex. This is our best one. And like that was re-editions. You shouldn't, the first few are locked away forever. And it's like the Ark of Covenant. You see it and you just turn into a skeleton like, ah!
Yeah. I remember because at some point this was all just a thought, right? We're like, it'd be cool to do a podcast at some point. But then I remember we were sketching up some logos, and the first couple that we made were like, how's this? And we look back at them now, we're like, oh my God. Could you imagine if we went with those? Like, oh God.
But kudos on you guys for going for it. Like, I mean, especially in the Prescript world, you guys were kind of the trailblazers. You were one of the first to really start podcasts. Everybody followed you, didn't they?
Well, I mean, technically, shallow, right?
Yeah,
Shallow's
of
the big
course, of
dog.
course.
Um, but out of the crew, I think out of the immediate crew, yeah, I think I might have we might have started it.
So
So that's kind of
kudos.
cool.
There you go.
There
There's
actually
applauding on
there
here.
is.
There's an applauding on here. Isn't
Give
there?
it. There it is.
Oh, that's loud as heck for the viewers at home.
The live studio
Got to
audience
just
approves.
volume. Yeah,
Right on.
man.
All right, man. We have a couple more things, and we're just gonna wrap this one up.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you've covered the, do you feel fulfilled doing personal training? I think the answer is a yes. We'll confirm with you though.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is most of the time, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that every day I wake up and think that I'm on top of the world doing exactly what I need to be doing. There's always going to be that doubt in your mind, right? But the majority of the time, yeah, I do feel fulfilled chasing this.
Good. And what kind of advice would you give a person feeling unfulfilled in their current profession? You've touched upon a lot of it. Hopefully a person can take a lot from this, but if you could just succinctly, basically I want a nice tagline / video clip that embodies the energy of ice cream.
The slogan.
Absolutely no pressure.
Slogan.
I mean, honestly, like it's gonna come from change, right? Like the more you resist that, the more you're going to feel dissatisfied with your life, right? Like people who feel stuck, people who feel they're just pursuing vain, end goals, they're not going to wake up looking forward to going to work each day, right? They're not going to want to keep doing what they want because they only want one thing out of that job, and it's not the job itself, right? Going back, just again, if you can find something that you want to do just because you want to do it, find a way to do that. You're going to be able to find somebody who, is willing to pay for it if you get good enough at it, right? There's a way to monetize everything. We live in the age of the internet, right? Just, find what you love and don't be afraid to at least partially implement it into your life. Take baby steps. And, I think you'll surprise yourself at how it starts to spiral upwards.
There's OnlyFans for feet pics. So if people can make money doing that, you can make money doing something you're passionate about.
I'm pretty sure you could have like woodwork phalluses. You could woodwork a phallus and put that onto OnlyFans and do a different one every day, and you'd make some money. I don't know about how much, but you'd make some money probably.
I mean, they say that.
Point is,
go ahead. I was about to say something inappropriate. It's all good.
Maybe I was gonna say, point is, pursue your dreams, guys.
As cliche
make your
as
wooden
sounds.
phalluses.
Yeah, but to wrap this thing up, what are some things you'd like to accomplish within the next year?
Honestly, I'm avoiding as much as I can setting concrete targets because again, that just puts a rush on me and removes the joy out of it. I want to just continue developing this and continue finding the joy in it and find ways to help each others and learn more myself. Really, it's it's not a numbers goal for me. It's just purely a fulfillment goal.
Mr. Stephen Dahl, everybody.
Again, we have a clapping thing, but actually, you know what? You've earned it. You're getting the cheer if I can find it. I mean, it's a live studio audience, guys. Mr. Stephen Dahl.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's going to talk show.
That's a long
36 seconds. Yeah.
No, gents, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It was a really good discussion. I love it.
but yeah, man. Thank you for making the time to come on. We hope that this talk has inspired some listeners and some viewers if they watch the stream to take a chance and try something that you're passionate about, and don't stay in your comfort zone, And yeah, if we can make one person decide to strive for something that they wouldn't normally do, then that's
And
awesome.
eat the ice cream.
But
Eat the
yeah,
ice
eat the
cream.
ice cream. There you go. But man, where can people stay up to date with what you do and
Yeah, right
and
now
everything?
mainly my Instagram at Dahl Body Mind, Dahl Body Mind, and I try to put out as much good content there as possible and keep people informed on my comings and goings.
The bangers.
Appreciate that.
I think that's well said. It's true. I got to see the shared post the other day. Bryce shared one on the story, so it was pretty good. So I'm going to go drop you a follow after this, and everyone listening should do that too. Thank you so much for being on here. We've really enjoyed having you. Great talking to you. You're one of the greats, and you've continued the long tradition of us bringing on uh, more attractive guests than we are. So thank you.
Yeah.
Is that the only reason you put it on video this time?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have to monetize the beauty of it too.
A shot at Ian there. We love you guys,
Yeah,
okay? We love you
come back.
guys.
Awesome.
We'll
We'll
have
give
you
you a
on
video.
again for the
Thanks
for
again,
the,
guys. I
the
appreciate it.
video now.
Okay, wait. I don't know if the world can handle Stephen and Ian all in the same call with us. That would be chaos, and I kind of want to see it.
It's too much heat.
I'm
Too much
interested.
heat, man.
You know where to reach me.
That's good stuff. Anyways, guys, we appreciate you tuning into this one, and we'll catch you at the next one, all right?
All right, see ya.